give me a minute. Let me also start the recording so that this is available to everyone. So in this session, we will talk about Appium introduction. We will talk about what Appium is and how it can help you in doing mobile testing. And we will also talk about the basic design of Appium, how Appium works, and how it interacts with multiple OSs. For example, it can interact with an Android device, and at the same time, it can interact with an iOS device. So we will talk about how it does that internally and how Appium can help you achieve mobile automation quickly and efficiently. So without any ado, I will just take you through the agenda for today. Uh, in today's class, the first topic that we will cover is introduction to Appium. Then we will talk about the Appium architecture. And after that, we will pick up the types of mobile applications that you have on different operating systems, different mobile operating systems. And it also means the types of applications that you would end up automating in your project. After that, we will talk about the operating system support with Appium. What are the different operating systems that Appium supports? And then the fifth topic that we will cover would be a small demo with an Android device. So we will try to show you a demo where we connect an Android device and we fire a very simple test on the Android device. After that, we will talk about the course overview which we have on Appium in ToolsQA. So you can just take a look at what we teach at ToolsQA about Appium and what are the topics that we cover. So I think this was the introduction part, this was the agenda part. I will introduce you to the members of ToolsQA that have joined the meeting today. I will introduce you to Souvik. Souvik is the presenter for today. He would be talking about Appium. He's an expert in Appium and has quite a lot of experience with Appium. So he would be the right person to introduce you to Appium. And then we have Laksh with us. Laksh has been with ToolsQA for quite some time, and he's basically the first person to start ToolsQA. And he has a work experience of around 9 to 10 years. So we are the three members here in the meeting, and I will hand it over to Souvik to start the session. Souvik, do you want to take control of my machine, or do you want to start it on your system?
Yeah, no, I want to take control of your system, Viren.
All right, so let me just make you. So are you able to use my machine now?
Let's see. No, I don't think so.
Okay, now?
Yeah, looks like.
So, Souvik, we can have a small round of introduction if you want to show more.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Hi all, this is Souvik here from ToolsQA, and I will walk you through to the Selenium webinar today. We will talk about a lot of things with respect to Appium. And here, with respect to Appium, we will be we will be understanding what is the structure, internal architecture of Appium, and what are different benefits out of it. And then we will go to the other parts of it, right? So, with respect to Appium, let's try to understand what exactly Appium is. So it is an automation tool, right? We use this for automating native, hybrid, and mobile web application, right? So let me give you a context. What is a native application? Native application is something which will have only the native components for a particular application. That means some application which is built for a particular iOS or Android, right? So that is it's kind of a native application. So it has its own iOS components, it has its own Android components, and that's how a native application is built. Hybrid application is something that is built in conjunction with both native components as well as with respect to web component. So some part of the application will be basically a website, if you can understand, and rest of them will be a native component, like maybe a scroller or a text box, something like that, which is completely a native to that particular operating system. And then we have mobile websites. That means you have any website. Nowadays, all these websites are responsive in nature. And what happens is, as you change the viewport, that means if you change the device view, right, from desktop, you can shrink it to a tab, you can shrink it to a mobile, and mobile also we have different sizes, 5.5, 5, 6, right? So it will fit to all of these different size, right? And it happens because of the responsiveness of the application. So we can handle all these three types of apps, mobile apps built for iOS and Android. So that is something which is Appium. Okay. Now, what is the benefit of Appium with respect to any other tool that we have in market? First and foremost, we don't have much of options with respect to open source. We have Appium, which is free of cost. We have other tools in market as well that can support mobile application automation, but that comes with a heavy price, right? And the next benefit that everybody likes about Appium is you can test the same application that you are going to submit to the marketplace. That means some of the tools like Calabash, it doesn't allow you to do that. You have to get a specific version of your app that you can, before you want to submit it to the marketplace, you have to get that particular developer version of the app. Only that particular version will be automated using Calabash. But with respect to Appium, it's not like that. The same application that you're trying to automate, it can be uploaded to the marketplace. That's same with iOS and Android. Okay. Now the next thing is a cross-platform tool, right? So what happens here is that the code that you are writing, okay, with respect to your iOS and Android, okay, you don't have to switch a new set of API to code on different platforms. That means you do not have to write a separate code for iOS. You do not have to write a separate code for Android. The same thing with a little bit of changes can be used in different platforms. Obviously, now I have an Android device, I have a iOS device. The object inspection, that is the key for any automation tool for that matter. So when we automate, first we try to find an object that is present in the web or mobile application. So when I say about object meaning you can consider a text box, a link, a drop down, or anything that you can interact with, right? A normal text maybe, right? So that's an object, a web object, or an Android object, or an iOS object. So these things will be a little bit of different, but not completely though. And some of the native components which are native to the OS. That means if you go to Android, the scroll view that you see for Android will definitely be different in iOS. You must have seen the dead picker in Android. That is way different than we have in iOS, right? So these are something which is native to the OS. So we have to kind of handle it separately. But other than that, the test script logic, okay, everything remains same, right? And then it is an open source, as I have mentioned it earlier. So what you have is it's an ongoing community that we have, and we have a large support, right? And there are thousands and thousands of blogs you can go through, and you can post your questions, and you get an answer in maybe on same day maybe, or if not, maybe the next day. So it's a large support community we get, and then we can use them, we can leverage that support, and then we can actually try different options with Appium. So that's what we have with the first introduction slide. Let me go to the next slide. Now, we will be talking about the Appium philosophy, right? That what exactly is Appium and how does it kind of work, and what is the main mantra behind Appium? So as I said already, the same test that you're going to upload in the marketplace can be automated. That's the first thing that Appium allows. The second thing that we have is you can write your test scripts in any language. We have a lot of options. We have Java, we have C, C Sharp, Ruby, Python, right? We can use any of these language to write our test scripts. And even more beneficial is that we can integrate this particular test scripts with any existing framework, right? Automation framework. So when we're talking about automation, we write our scripts and then we integrate that to a framework because we want to make our life easy. We are working on in an agile environment where you face changes frequently, and that's where you have to quickly go ahead and make the changes. And if you're not using your framework, then your life will be really tedious to find where the problem is and how many places you have to go and fix your changes. So that's the reason why we use frameworks. Now, whatever framework that your company already have, you can probably integrate your Appium scripts into it. Now we have to see how that framework is built. Obviously, if it's a Java-based framework, and if it is, then we have to kind of use it accordingly to write your test scripts, right? So with that, let's go to the next point. Right, so I have already told you this, that we can write the script in meant for one platform, and with a little tweak, we can go ahead and use it in a different platform altogether. Right now, we are supporting, Appium is supporting iOS and Android, and with all different type of application, as I mentioned earlier, native, web, and hybrid, right? Okay. Let's go to the next slide. And now we will understand a little bit on how Appium actually does all of these jobs which I'm talking about, how it can make our life so easy. It all happens because Appium has a architecture built, and that kind of that is something that I have mentioned here. So Appium is basically a server, right? And it is written on Node.js. Okay. The best part of Appium is it is built on top of Selenium WebDriver. Okay. So Selenium WebDriver is something, it's a server again, which will basically serve your request, and it works on JSON wire protocol. That means I have a client, that means I have a test script, and in the script I am going to maintain or mention certain steps, right? The steps are like clicking on an element, send some text to a particular input box, right? Now what happens here is that these commands gets converted to a JSON format, right? And that JSON gets parsed by the server, whether it's Selenium server or Appium server. And then what it does is it performs the same thing in the UI, that is a browser. And then it responds back with the respond code, like what exactly happened with respect to that particular operation that you programmatically. Correct? So now Appium server is built on top of Selenium WebDriver. So the benefit is that um, if anyone knows what Selenium is, it'll be really helpful for them to understand how Appium can be used, because most of the methods that we use in Selenium WebDriver will be similar. Along with that, we have some Appium specific methods as well, but most methods that we are going to use for Appium will be a part of Selenium. Now, yeah, the next thing is that it basically exposes a REST API to communicate with the server. As I was talking about JSON, that's what we talk about, like REST API. Now, here with respect to the client, so anyone can write a client for Appium server. That means a test script. Anybody can write that. The only thing that you have to understand is how Selenium WebDriver works. What are different Selenium WebDriver protocols we have, right? So yeah, the same thing I'm mentioning here. The client connect to the Appium server via REST API, client request via HTTP, the Appium server to perform task, and then it comes back with a response. Moving on to the next slide. Right, so here I'm just trying to talk a little bit more on the architecture front, how exactly this happens. We'll show you a architectural diagram for both iOS and Android, right? So we have something called as Apple instruments, okay? That is something that we use it for iOS automation. Appium provides that to us, and we are going to leverage Apple instruments to actually interact with the device. So when we talk about Appium, we are actually working on real-time device, right? Or simulator or emulator, okay? So Apple instrument is the one that you're going to use for your iOS interactions, but you don't have to actually understand what is going on at the background because we have our abstractions. Appium has its own abstractions, right? Now, with respect to Android, we have the same option, but we have it using UI Automator, right? So here we have mentioned about the abstraction. So Appium under the hood uses the platform-specific automation frameworks, as I have mentioned, like Apple Instruments and UI Automator. And it creates an abstraction by exposing common set of APIs, something which you're going to use for your test scripts to work on. And obviously that's how you will achieve a cross-platform solution, right? Because it has its own set of APIs for handling Apple and handling Android. The only thing that differs is how you initialize the driver object for Appium, and it will basically take care of the cross-platform benefits. Okay, going to the next slide. So this is the internal understanding of how Appium is working. So you see in the left-hand side, we have WebDriver scripts. So we are going to create the scripts that something like, we use it like for Selenium. We create a WebDriver script. It's kind of similar to it, as it is built on top of Selenium WebDriver. And then we have this particular middle layer, which is a WebDriver controller, that is something which is talking to Selenium, which has Selenium instruments, Appium instrument controller for iOS. And we also have a instruments command server. We have a instrument command client, which understands the request and it serves it by interacting with the device or simulator. So that's how iOS works using Apple instruments. With respect to Android, we have a similar setup. Again, we have WebDriver controller. Here we have UI automator, and that talks to the device, right? So this is what, with respect to Appium, internal structure that I wanted to show here. The next one, Viren, before we go ahead to the requirements of how exactly we are going to learn Appium, I think we can provide the demo of
Sure.
the Appium tool, and then we will talk about the next slides again.
Yeah, sure. So that's a good idea. So let me do one thing. There are a couple of people who have a lot of questions. Let us take the questions and
Sure,
let us take a couple of questions now, and then we will take the other questions at the end. So I will
sure,
call one by one the people who have raised some questions, and
sure.
if the question is something that we can pick it up right now, we will just pick it up, or we will take it at the end of the session. So I will start with
Absolutely.
Ankit. Ankit, you have a question, and let me unmute you. Yes, Ankit, you can unmute yourself and you can ask the question. All right, seems that Ankit is not able to respond. So let me just quickly jump on to the next person. We have Anurag. Anurag Yadav, would you like to have your question?
No questions from my side.
Okay. All right. So let me. Yes, Ankit, you have raised your hand. Can you ask your question? You have to unmute yourself. In front of your name, you have this green mic button. Just unmute yourself.
Hi Viren, Ankit here.
Yeah, hi, Ankit.
So my question is how Appium is interacting with Eclipse and Selenium.
All right. So the question is how Appium is interacting with Selenium and Eclipse, basically. So, uh, all right. So, Sovic, do you want to take the question or should I take it up?
No, no, I'll take that up. So Ankit, here is the thing. Eclipse is a IDE. It's an IDE where you're going to write your test scripts, right? So there is nothing. I mean, you're going to use your Eclipse
Okay,
to actually write the test scripts, Appium test scripts.
okay,
When I'm talking about Selenium, so Appium is built on top of Selenium WebDriver. Okay, so why does it do that? Because
okay,
it wants to use the same JavaScript object notation wired protocol, that is JSON wired protocol, to interact with the device. Like we use Selenium WebDriver to interact with browser components. Similarly, we are going to use Appium to interact with devices and its apps, Android,
okay.
native, hybrid, or web apps. So it is built on top of Selenium WebDriver. Does it make sense? And are you okay with that answer?
Yes, I got it. Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. So, just to add to what Souvik said, if you look at the diagram here, you can see that on the left hand side we have the WebDriver script. In the middle we have this Appium controller, or you can say the WebDriver controller, and on the other side we have our mobile device. All right. So when Souvik said that Appium is built on top of Selenium WebDriver, what it means is that for you, for the people who are writing tests, the only thing that matters is that they should understand what WebDriver is and the basic API definitions of WebDriver. For example, in WebDriver, you can create a Chrome browser and how you can find an element. These are the things, these are the conceptual things that you should be aware of. And that is why we say that Appium gives you a common API structure. Appium will you can code in Appium using a similar structure of WebDriver, and then Appium, based on the platform that it has, it will route your tests to the common to the platform specific automation engine, whatever that is. In case of Android, it will be UI Automator, and in case of iOS, as Souvik showed you in the previous slide, it would be Instruments Controller. So Appium basically abstracts out the details of the individual platform specific test engine, and it just gives you a common interface, which is the WebDriver interface to interact with. All right. So that was something on top of what Souvik has said. So Ankit, I hope that answers your question, and I hope for other people also it makes more sense. Now I will move on to the next person, and let me just quickly pick the next name. We have Ashish who has a question. Ashish, do you have a question? Hey Ashish, do you have a question? Ashish Srivastav? All right, so Ashish does not have a question. Okay, so moving forward, we have Bhargavi. Bhargavi, do you have a question? Let me unmute you. Bhargavi, do you have a question? All right, so it seems Bhargavi doesn't have a question. Gaurav, do you have a question? All right, so let me just quickly see what other questions do we have. All right. So Ankit, it seems that you have a question. No, sorry. I think I just repeated the list. Nagaraj, do you have a question? Let me unmute you. Okay, so Jatin, let me just go by the questions. So Sainath, would you like to ask your question, please? Yes, Sainath, we have unmuted you.
Yeah, hi. Are you able to hear?
Yes, I'm able to hear you.
Yes, good evening. I would like to know something about the REST API part of it.
Yes.
Okay, so
Hello?
can you just a little bit elaborate on your question? Can you just tell us what exactly you're looking at?
No, I've been hearing this since, like using SOAP UI and a lot of things. So I just listened while you were telling about the REST API communication in APM
Okay,
architecture.
so,
So,
right. So SOAP UI is something different. We use that for web services testing, right? We are not talking about anything with respect to web services here. What I wanted to mean in that particular that Appium uses the same structure, okay, to communicate to the application or to the device. It uses the same structure. If you understand what is a JSON structure, wherein can you quickly show a JSON template, Probably that will make sense to him.
All right. So let me just JSON template. We don't have it readily available, so JSON template. All right. So let me just open it from our website. So JSON is more like somewhat similar to XML, but there we don't have tag structure, but it is a structured document. So Savik, which one would you like? There are like a couple of them.
Just open a JSON. Okay, just go to, just type in
Yeah.
JSON in Google. Yeah, this is good. This is good. Right. So here you see that we have a specific data structure using which a communication is getting sent from one end to other end. So basically, when I'm talking about REST API and JSON wired protocol, I mean that these commands, which is like send keys or click or tap or swipe or double tap, these are different commands that we use when we interact with a Android or iOS device, and these commands gets converted to a particular JSON format which Appium server understands, right? So in your client, you are going to use this command that gets parsed and that gets understood by the Appium server, and then the same sort of interaction happens in the device. So that's where I'm saying that it is basically using the same JSON wire protocol. It exposes a REST API and it interacts with the server and server to the device. After the interaction or execution is done, it gets back with the response code saying that, okay, I'm done with the job. Let's process the next command. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, yes. Thank
Right.
you.
No
All right.
problem. Thank you.
So that's great. Let me just pick up the next question. The next question is how to test iOS application, and this is being asked by uh, Ajit, I think. Yeah. So Ajit, well, this is like quite a generic question, and APM will help you test your iOS application because APM itself is a platform neutral system where you can write your test and then you can push it onto an iOS platform or onto an Android platform. So basically, this is a very broad question which actually encompasses the fact that you have to understand Selenium WebDriver to actually write some code. Then you will have to have a basic understanding of APM, the server structure, and then you have to connect it to your device. So it's a very generic question which cannot be answered in a few minutes. But APM can help you test your iOS applications. All right, so I think that answers your question. And let me just pick up the next question. So this question is by, just give me a minute, let me just expand this. This question is asked by Sindura, and the question is, what does it mean by application in the marketplace? Souvik, I would like to take this up. Is that fine with you?
Sure, please.
Yeah. So, Sindhura, the point that Souvik was earlier trying to make is that was that you with APM you can actually test the application that you will publish on the marketplace. What he means by that is you don't have to worry about putting in markers in your application specifically for the test purpose. You don't have to create a special version of your application just to enable your application to be tested automatically. So whatever you have in your application which you want to ship to the customer, that is the only thing that is required by APM to control your application and to test your application. So it means that in code, in terms of development code, the application code, you don't have to write any test specific logic. Everything will be dev specific logic, application specific logic, and that is what we mean by the application that will be published to the marketplace. Does it answer your question, Sindhura? And I will just, all right, so I think it does. All right, so the last question that we have is by Pramod. This is a very good question. It is, what is bootstrap.jar? It is like almost the technical details of Appium. Souvik, you want to pick it up or do you want me to pick it up?
Yeah, you're good. You can go ahead.
All right. So basically, Bootstrap.jar is the library that is provided by the specific vendor of iOS or Appium, iOS or Android, and this is the jar where the commands go in. It acts like a server. So all the commands go in there, and then they are interpreted by the respective operating system, be it Android or iOS. But this is just not this is not the complete answer to bootstrap.jar. It is very technical and it will be understood when you learn more about Appium. So for the time being, you can consider it as a server which OS dependent server which will take your calls and interpret it in terms of the OS understanding. I hope that answers your question, Pramod. All right, so I will just stop here. I will just stop here and let us go on to a demo, and we will pick up the questions in the later half. All right, so I will take control of the session, Souvik.
Sure.
All right, so basically we have prepared a small demo. In this demo, we would be working on an application. Let me just share my mobile screen. So in this case, we have an Android device connected to our system, and we will be we will be firing some tests on the Android device. And the tests are written on Amazon application. I will just quickly show you the application, what it is. This is the Amazon shopping application that is available on the marketplace. You can download it. And let me just take you through the user scenario. So the user scenario here is that a user is on the Amazon application, and he wants to search for Android phones. So once you launch the application, you must have seen that it picks up the last state that was present in the application. If it's not able to pick the last state, it will start from a default state. So the scenario is simple. User comes in and user types in Android phones. And once the user types in Android phone, I have to actually manually click on it just to show you the scenario. Once the user types in on Android phones, the application shows all the Android phones that are available in the market on Amazon at that point in time. So you would see the list of phones that are available. During this process, there are 3 or 4 important steps that Appium will perform. The very first step is that Appium will launch your application on the mobile device. The second step would be it will find the text box, the search text box, and the third step would be it will type something in the search text box. And once it types something in the text box, it will pick up the first option available and it will click on it. Once it clicks on the first option, it will wait till the search page is displayed, and then it will try to find out the total number of available options for Android phones in Amazon. So it will just pick up this value and print it on screen. So these are the key steps that the application that Appium will take in order to perform the testing. Now this will showcase how much capable Appium is. I will quickly take you to the script, and for the people who are aware of Selenium WebDriver, they would be able to relate to the script. We have created a very simple sample script. We haven't added like the class structure. It's just a simple script. So you can see that when we talked about a common interface, this is the common interface. You would be talking in terms of classes and in terms of objects that are very uh, which are readily available in Selenium WebDriver already. So if you know Selenium WebDriver, you can easily understand what is going on here. So we will just first create the driver, which will communicate with the Android device, and then we will tell it to open a particular application. So this is where you can tell Android that I want to open an application which has a package named this. So here you can see it is com.amazon, and then we will tell what is the base activity for the application. After that, all I will do is I will try to find a couple of elements. For example, if the first page, the home page comes in, I will try to skip the sign in button. uh, I will try to click on the skip sign in button, and after that I will find the search box. I will send certain text to it, which is Android phones. Then I will find uh, the the list of available options, and then I will click onto one, and then I will find uh, the total number of results that were published, that are present on Amazon. So this is the Appium server that we have started, and this Appium server is basically trying to connect with the Android device. This is the server which will push our commands from Eclipse, which is this code, and to the device. So this code will be pushed via this server to the device. So let us quickly see. I will just project the screen of my mobile here, and I will run the test. So let me just run it first. Once I run it, you can see that the logs are generated here for the actions that it is trying to do on the device. Now, the very first thing that it will do is it will close the device, close the application. So let us see how it goes on. So it will try to communicate with the device. It is trying to send a couple of commands to the device, and you can see in a few seconds it will close the application. So there it goes. It closes the application. Then it will try to launch it again. So there it launches Amazon.com, Amazon application, sorry, and then on the home page it will try to search for the search box, which is at the top right now. It searches for the box, it clicks on it, and then it will type something there. Hey Sovic, you have control of my mouse. So you can see that now it types Android phones there, and well, it gets some random result and it just clicks on that. Well, this is a part which happened because I have a search history where Adidas shoes comes into the search history. So it just picked up the first one and it clicked on it. We can rerun the test to correct this thing, but I think the basic idea has been communicated. The basic idea is that you can control your web application, and you can control the way you can perform actions on the application, and you can test your application properly using Appium. So it's a very good tool that you should learn, and it is something that is right now going as a hot topic in the market. So it will be something to add on to your skill set. So I can rerun the test just to show that it picks up the right result. But at the end, you can see that all the logs are generated right here in front of you in the server, and you can actually see the logs, and you can see that it gives very detailed out logs. For example, here it's saying that I'm trying to find an element with X path, and the X path is this. So it gives you like quite a lot of details about what the test step is trying to do. So that was pretty much it from the demo side that we had. And I think we can move forward and we can pick up the presentation. Before that, let me just quickly check if we have a couple of questions related to the demo. All right, so I think we pretty much have the same set of questions. So I will just move on to the presentation. So Savik, would you like to take control? We have unmuted you, so.
Right, can you hear me out?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I think we have a few other questions that came up. You want to take those and then continue with the next of it, or you want to?
Sure. Sure.
Right.
Let us take up the questions then.
Sure, let's do that. Hmm.
All right. So we had a couple of missed questions, and I can see quite a lot of questions here now. Uh, so the question is from Praveen Kumar, and he's asking, for this need real device or just AVD is enough? So the question is, do you need a real device to test, or is a virtual device or a device emulator enough to perform mobile testing? Souvik, would you like to pick it up?
That's right. So the thing is that real device is the actual testing. As I just mentioned, that the same app that you are going to upload it to the marketplace, you have to use the same. I mean, you can use the same application to run your test. So it's similar with the real device as well, right? It would actually try to automate it in the actual real device. The first problem with the AVD or simulator or emulator is it has its own dependencies. It has a hardware dependency. Simulators are actually very slow and laggy, right? Whereas real device will actually give you the user experience. So it's always good to have your test run into a real device, and Appium makes your life very easy with testing into a real device. So I think Praveen, that's from my end. So are you okay with that? Okay.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So Praveen would reply to that, and probably uh, you have answered the question. So let me just quickly take on to the next question. Actually, this
Mm-hmm.
there are a couple of questions that are coming in, and I'm not able to just keep track of it. Now, let me just give me a minute.
Mm-hmm. Now after Naveen, sorry, Praveen, we have Lokesh.
Yeah.
Um, he's asking what is Node.js and why we need Node.js for Appium. So Node.js is a scripting language again. So Appium is written on Node.js. So when you install Appium into your system, you need to have a prerequisite software, which is Node.js, should be present with the Appium. Now, there are two different versions of it, how you can install Appium. You can install the same UI version which I showed you. So that comes with a pre-installed Node.js. If you don't have a Node.js separately, even then it will work because it will take care of downloading all Node.js components. You don't have to worry about that. But if you are downloading the shell version or command version of Appium, then you have to make sure to install Node.js separately, right? So that's why you need Node.js, Lokesh. Hope that is okay. Um, Next question that I can see here is from Bhargavi, saying that if I have existing test scripts written using WebDriver already working on a web application, can those be upgraded working on web mobile application with minimal changes, or we have to start from scratch? So Bhargavi, yes, you can go ahead and start working on the same script that will work on Appium, but you don't have to go for this from scratch. Your test script's logic will definitely remain same, but as I spoke about that in this world, we have responsive web applications, right? So the application that you are writing, the test script that you're writing in your for your desktop, that is a web browser, um, out of the box, the same thing will not work because object inspection itself will fail. The reason being, in a responsive website, when it is getting shrunk in a 5.5-inch screen, obviously the object locators and everything gets changed, and then you do have to spend some time to have it ready for your um mobile. So object location has to be updated, but the script logic and those things will be absolutely working fine. And you do have to obviously initialize Appium driver, not the Selenium web driver. And yeah, so you can think of, say, 70 to 80% reusability on your test scripts. 70% should be good enough. Yeah. So
All right, so Savik, I think the main theme that we have a limited time for questions, and the main theme that we are getting is that a couple of people are interested in understanding how to find locators for objects in Selenium in on the mobile device. So I will just quickly walk them through the UI automator, the locator part, and then the second theme that is emerging is what is Node.js. So probably you have answered it, but we will try to answer it again. So
mhm.
let me just quickly show how we can locate an element so that people get the context. So the question is how we can locate element on a mobile device. So this is the mobile device. By the way, it's an actual device, and it is the screen has been projected here on the desktop, and the tool that we are using is called AirDroid. This is the tool, AirDroid. So if you want to project your screen from the real device to the desktop, AirDroid is the tool that you can use. There are a couple of other tools also, so you can choose based on your needs. Now, let me just quickly take you through the Amazon app. This is the Amazon app. Let us go to the home page. So in the home page, let us try to analyze the UI structure, how it looks and how we can find a particular element. So this is the home page, right? And the task is to identify the edit box here, the search box. Now once you start developing for the Appium, developing tests in Appium, you would have to install the Android SDK. So in the Android SDK, it comes up with you can go here in the SDK and you can go to the tools folder. This tools folder contains quite a lot of tools which you can use to have a better developer experience. One such tool is called UI Automator Viewer. So once you click on that, it opens up this particular application. All right, so we have two open. So I will just close the other one. And now, once you have this, there are these two buttons. So all you have to do is just click on this button, and it will try to connect to the device that is connected to the system, to your desktop right now, and it will try to take a UI snapshot of whatever is there on the screen. So you can see that once you do that, the UI screenshot will appear on your desktop. Now with this, let me expand this thing. And let me just minimize this. Yeah, so with this you would see that it gives you a very good way to actually hover over any element and find what it looks like. So you can just click on this element and you will see that this is the element that we are referring to, and this element has a class name called android.widget.editText. It has an index of 1. It has the current text value is Adidas shoes. So this is how you can locate elements. You will get all the properties of the element on screen and you can create your own locators around it. For example, in this case, you can create a locator around the class name. All right. So that was the first question. I hope that clears the doubt around how to locate elements on the device. And for web applications, mobile web applications, you can simply use Chrome as well, but then we can't go into the details of that. The second theme that came in was around Node.js. So I will just quickly take that up. Souvik has already explained it properly, but the purpose of Node.js, actually the Node.js is to route your calls. So Node.js is a server. It is used to route your calls from the script to uh, to to the to the device. So basically, that's all that you can understand about Node.js at this point in time. So correct me if I'm wrong, Souvik.
No, that's correct. That's correct. What is Node.js is, yeah.
All right. So I think we will just stop with the questions here, and this was the main theme that emerged out of most of the questions. And Saurabh, don't worry about it. We will share the recording with you. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We have from the question side. We will quickly take you through what are the requirements to learn APM, and Saurabh will continue with that.
Sure, sure. So as a prerequisite, as I've mentioned earlier, that a good understanding of Selenium will be really helpful, right? And also the you know the scripting language that you're going to use for your automation scripting. So whether it's Java or C Sharp, you need to have an understanding of those two. And also, it will really help if you get an experienced trainer with you to help during your doubts and during your practice sessions. So along with that, if you can get some real-time practice exercise, it will be very helpful for you to absorb the concept. So that's pretty much with respect to the requirements that you need to that is what you need for your Appium training or tutorial. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Right, so how do we learn Appium? Obviously, you can definitely go ahead and start picking up as a self-learning option, and that could be a slow and steady process probably to get some idea of how Appium is working. However, there is certain cons to it. The first thing is that it is an open source tool, and documentation is almost null. Whatever you see with respect to Appium IO, it's very technical and it's not easily understandable. Materials are scattered throughout. So that is one problem. Second thing is that initial, opening up a application could be an easy job, or maybe a couple of taps to a particular object is an easy job, right? But then when you get into a little bit details of it, like the one which somebody asked here with respect to the reusability of same code written in Selenium here in Appium, that's where you have to understand how we can do that. It's a little bit hard to understand, and how we can tweak it, how we can achieve most reusability, how to handle native components, right? So those are very hard topics to go with, and then when you don't have an option to have a fair understanding, most of the people lose interest. So these are different topics that comes with experience, and self-learning is a little bit not possible with such kind of topics. And what I wanted to say here is that we will be, we have options to provide live project. Live project experience is also a crucial thing for your self-learning. So, how you handle a framework, how do you use a framework for your test scripts maintenance, and so on and so forth, how to pick up data, how to achieve reusability. These are things which will come with a live project experience, right? So that is something that you will not get easily with a self-learning mechanism. We have a custom mobile app that we have already built for all our students. Now, this particular app that we have built, it is something will give you an option to practice on all different elements that you probably will get across in one place. It's not something that you have to look through different applications to understand, okay, how a scroll view is working, how different other native components are working, how a date picker is working, how a calendar object is working. So only one application that we have built will be helping you to understand different complex objects with respect to iOS and Android. We have an Android app ready currently. We are working on the iOS as well. So moving on to the next one. Right, so this is something that I wanted to show you is what are different topics that we are going to cover. It's a course content, but it's definitely not the detailed course content. We will publish a detailed course content on our website soon, but this is a kind of a nutshell. In nutshell, what are things that you will be learning with ToolsQA. As I have already mentioned a little bit on the Appium structure, we will give you a detailed understanding of it. Then we will talk about configuring Appium for Android automation on Windows and on Mac for iOS, right? Next we have the native app object identification for iOS and Android using UI Automator, the tool which Viren just showed you. And there is also one more option that we have is Appium Inspector, right? So we will use those two tools and we will show you how you can identify the objects in the device, and we will do it for all of the browse, all of the type of different application, whether a mobile site or a native or a hybrid app. Yeah, the same thing I'm mentioning here and the next point, and then we have different other gestures with respect to mobile: drag and drop, multi-touch, swipe, scroll, right? We will teach you how we can do this using different options available. Then we will talk about automating iOS native apps and web apps with Appium. We will talk about iOS different controls that we have: steppers, switches, slider, picker wheel. Okay, these are something which is native to iOS. We will talk about those. We'll talk about page object model and implementing relevant frameworks, right? As I have told you that you need to have an industry level experience, and then you need to understand how a framework works. So we will talk about that with page object model, and then we will talk about how we can interact with Excel. That is also a part of the framework, right? So I mean, we should not say this, but then when I'm teaching all of these different topics, we will definitely take care of the fact that some people will definitely not come from programming background or with completely zero knowledge in automation testing. So we will take care from very basics of Java. We are targeting Java as the option for scripting language, and we'll talk about very basics of Java to the advanced that is required for the Appium automation, and also we will give you a understanding and we will walk you through the Selenium WebDriver components, methods, because Appium is built on top of Selenium WebDriver, so you will get an idea how Selenium WebDriver works as well, and along with that Appium inbuilt methods for object identification, object interaction with iOS and Android devices. So that brings us to the end of our webinar.
All right, yeah, sure, Souvik. That brings us to the end of the event of our webinar. We have overshot the time by 8 minutes, and is there anything more that you want to cover right now?
I think I'm good. I think I'm good, Viren.
All right. So, well, I would like to thank everyone for joining in today. And we had a couple of questions, and I hope we have answered your questions properly. And just in case we weren't able to answer your questions, you can drop us a note at the email IDs that we have mentioned on the website. So, or you can look at the email IDs which are in the email that we sent earlier. You can drop us a note, and we will try to come back. And uh, we will be starting soon with a APM course. And for all those people who are new to automation and new to Java or any kind of programming language, I think that would be the best thing to join, because we will start with Java basics. We will try to cover things that most of the testers struggle with. So we will start with the basics, make you comfortable with Java, and then we will proceed forward with APM. This training would be full of live uh, programming, live show of programming constructs, and it will contain a lot of demos as well. So, if you would like to join the course, just drop us a note here, or you may drop us an email later on. For the people who have joined in, we will consider quite a good discount here, around 20 to 30%. We are considering, so you can just drop us an email, and we will talk about the payment, the fee structure on the email. And before we close the session, and before